Yo, what's happening everybody, King GBL here, and welcome back to some Go Battle League. Today I'm going to be showcasing an absolutely crazy run I made over the last 3 days. As you can see, we're starting out on 2690, and in the last 3 days, I gained 330 ELO to hit Legend. This is by far the quickest I've ever hit Legend in Go Battle League. Normally I'm struggling in the last, month or so, trying to just about scrape Legend, but this season we had Great League Remix super early, and I think that's what allowed me to make that push. Now today's video is going to be a complete and utter breakdown of this team. I'm going to be showcasing as many negative leads, as many variations of teams that are quite positive for you, which can go a little bit wrong. I'm going to try to showcase absolutely as much as possible. You should be able to watch this video and get all of the information that you need for these matchups, and basically look to make a climb for yourself. Now, I know some of you guys might be around Ace ELO, around Veteran ELO, and the teams that you're going to be seeing are a little bit unusual, right? Like you might run the Polygraph lead and see Gramble lead with some other weird stuff in the back. My advice to you people is, if you're not seeing the teams that I'm seeing, what you're going to have to do is grind out the team for a little while. It's a very consistent and strong team. You just have to put your trust in the team, stick with it for a while, learn all of these awkward matchups that you're not really having a good time with, try to get some sort of a foothold in those matches, and then hopefully this video should be able to fill in the blanks for you. I started off this video at Veteran and made it all the way to Legend, so you should be able to see a massive variety of matchups. Drop a like on today's video if you enjoy. On the Expert video, I asked for 100 likes, you guys smashed it. Let's go for 150 for the Legend push. If you want to see more teams like this with big breakdowns of teams that you can push with, subscribe, absolutely free, and you'll get a lot of great content here. And finally, big thank you to everybody who supports the channel, I very much appreciate it. I've had some rough times this season. I want to say a big thank you to everybody who stuck with me, I very much appreciate you guys, and let's hop into the battles. So you seen in this match we got a Ferrothorn lead. What the Ferrothorns sometimes do is stay in and throw a Power Whip. If that happens, just shield with the Polygraph. Now, whenever the opponent goes into Gligar as a safe swap, what you need to do is stay in with Poly and throw an Icy Wind. You need to get that ingrained into your mind, right? You might think okay, I'll swap because they swap. No, you have to stay in with Poly, take the wing attacks, shield the Aerialus, get off your own Icy Wind, and then go into your own Gligar. In this match here, we got shields down and Reggie was able to sweep it pretty easily. In the next match here, we have a Quagsire lead and they come into a Mantine. Now, this is a pretty RPS battle, but the reason I'm showing this to you is because Quagsire can be very awkward. You bring in your Reggie to the Mantine, you take it out, the opponent gets a massive energy lead, and then suddenly they're throwing 2, 3, 4 Mud Bombs in your Poly. I like to go for an undercharge on the Mantine, which means that I can lock on the whole way down, and Registeel can take out a Quagsire with 2 moves if you have a massive energy lead like this. As you can see, we do the perfect undercharge, we lock on the whole way down, the opponent will Mudshot me the whole way down, and I'm going to go straight for a Focus Blast. It takes 2 moves to knock this thing out anyway. I wanted to get the guaranteed damage, so I went for Focus Blast, and as you can see here, Registeel is either going to take Swap or get a shield off the Quagsire. Now this Quagsire could be a Mud Bomb, it could be an Aqua Tail, we'll have to find out here. We come into Poly, the opponent actually stays into for a move, and we'll see what they want to do. Stone Edge coming into a decent little chip, and the opponent comes into a Charizard. Once again, we're staying in to go for a debuff. Surprisingly, Charizard is a real core breaker for this team. I did see it a few times and I had a tricky time beating it. Now right here, I just decided we live an Aqua Tail from the Quag. I just want to get rid of this thing. I'm going to shield anything they throw, even though it's debuffed. This ES should be just about enough. Oh, I thought it would have been enough to take out. And right here, this was a mistake by me. For Charizard to have a Blast Burn plus a Claw, they need 11. The opponent only had 10, but in that moment I was afraid that I miscounted. I knew that I lived an Aqua Tail anyway. I knew the opponent had to throw both moves, and I knew the Polygraph could counter it down, so I just knew this was the safest play, but in reality I shouldn't have shielded the second move. GG's well played. This match can get a little bit awkward if the opponent's on Mud Bomb, but doing that undercharge with Reggie makes it really hard for them. Now this team is a team that you will see very, very often. Stay in with Poly, go for an Icy Wind, and basically swap into Gligar immediately. You seen in the first match, I actually caught the Thunder Punch. That will almost never happen. The opponents almost never do that. What you need to do in this matchup right here is go for the Icy Wind, right? You get the shield, and you build up to back-to-back aces with the Gligar. You can build up to 1 wing attack above back-to-back, and throw both off if the opponent shields. So this is what I like to do. I like to go to back-to-back, just so the opponent does not shield and get off another move. And as you can see, we're on very, very low health. The opponent can come back in with Empoleon, get minimal farm, and we can look to throw a dig on it. The opponent actually comes into a Giratina, so I make a bit of a mistake here. I should be full sending the dig. If the opponent has Giratina in this team, it is a little bit tricky, so I wanted to leave this in. Empoleon Double Dragon with Giratina can be a little bit tricky. Now of course we have the Polygraph for the Empoleon. I decide to come into Reggie. The opponent's getting very close to Zap Cannon range, but these Shadow Balls are really adding up. They got a juicy farm down as well, so this is starting to get super, super awkward. I wanted to show this because I definitely done a bit of a misplay here. All you would really have to do to win this match is just basically go for a dig on the Giratina. They'll be getting very, very low and the Zap Cannon will be threatening them. I overfarm as much as possible here, and we might be able to still win this, but this is looking very, very tricky. The opponent will make it to a move here with the Empoleon. Unfortunately, they do just about outpace us. The opponent wins CMP, so you guys are going to see that I will showcase in this video like several different ways that Empoleon leads like to play against you. Basically every possible way that Empoleon can play against you to try and win. Empoleon lead is not a guaranteed win. It should be, but if you mess up like I did, it's definitely very possible to lose this, so keep that in mind. You have to try to sort of stick to the plan on this one and try to play as best as possible, so hopefully we can do it this time. Once again, the opponent comes into a Goodra. In this set in particular, I was getting so many Empoleon leads. You're going to see in the following set, I get nothing but Deoxys leads, so we're going to be seeing all of those matchups soon. We're going to do the same plan once again, take one, shield one, build up to back-to-back Aerialises, and then look to threaten a dig on the Empoleon here. So it's going to be the same plan every time. Whenever you find something that works, you just stick to it, right? Whenever you have a plan for these Pokemon, you don't even need to count. You just know what you're able to do. You can just take one, shield one, build up to back-to-back Ace. You don't even have to count. You just do exactly that, and it's fine. The opponent comes into Empoleon here. Now, what has happened to me a couple of times is they'll catch the dig on Dragonite. That makes it really, really awkward. Now right here, I don't allow the opponent to farm me down, because I know it'll be Dragonite in the back, and I don't want them to get extra energy. So I come into Poliwrath here, I'm farming up as much as possible, the opponent's not swapping out, so I decide, okay, I basically have to throw a move. I was expecting the Scald catch. At this point, this is perfect. Reggie versus, no matter what your Reggie IVs are, by the way, Reggie versus Dragonite will win the zeros, so we're in a pretty decent spot here. I just knew if I brought in Poly, the opponent would be forced to throw energy, they're going to be super low, and I can just basically outpace and take out the Dragonite. GG's well played. Most of the time I just let them take out the Gligar. It's not really that much of a big deal, but that is another way to do it. Shadow Empoleon here, and in comes Poly. So in this matchup, I've learned a better way to play this. Stay in with Poly, and basically allow them to throw the move in Poly first, and then come into Gligar. Otherwise, what you can do is swap into Gligar immediately, build up to back-to-back Aces. Do not do any more than back-to-back Aces, right? Do not CMP the opponent, do not build up any more than back-to-back, and throw one off. The opponent lets that move go. Now, in my experience, whenever this happens, the opponent shields this move 99.9% of the time, so I think it's worth going for a bait in that situation. I decided to just full send because I'm playing against good players. They might try to call it, right? I come into Poly, and at this point, guys, it's shield once farm all the way down. I think even with a non-Shadow Empoleon, you can always shield once farm it the whole way down. In comes Gligar. A little bit tricky here, but I think we're still fine, because after debuffing them, you can take the wing attacks plus the Aerialius, get off an Icy Wind, and you're basically chilling, right? Registeel, as I mentioned in my previous video, beats Empoleon in any even shielding scenario. I decided to undercharge this slightly, just to not allow the opponent to get any extra farm. Registeel can comfortably take one move from Gligar, this is absolutely no problem, and just by locking on down, I just basically made sure the opponent does not try to stay in, right? Because I've got a Zap Cannon banged, there's no way for them to win. Unnecessary for me to do that, but that's just what I decided to do as the most optimal play. Guzzlord lead, fantastic lead, in comes Shadow Sableye. ABI weak to Charm, this opponent has no respect for Ninetales. This is a little bit awkward, Shadow Sableye on the safe swap is awkward. The good thing is, right, we resist all of the moves. I can take one, but 2 moves actually knocks out the Poly, even though they're all resisted. That's kind of crazy, right? So what you should do here is shield once, so get off an Icy Wind, shield once, farm down, or if you think they're going to let it go for a Scald. At this point here, we're pretty much fine, because I can debuff whatever comes in, align my Gligar to whatever comes in, my Registeel to the Guzzlord, and that should be basically game over. So all in all, this turned out to be fairly RPS. The only way this match gets a little bit awkward is if you swap straight away, the opponent gets an energy lead with Sableye, starts shielding, gets shields down, gets a shield advantage, it gets a farm down with Venusaur, does something funky like that, right? So I just wanted to absolutely make sure that's not going to happen. I'm just going to stay in with Poly, take alignment, debuff whatever comes in, put my Gligar on it, put my Registeel on this thing, and that'll be basically game over. So that is something to keep in mind. If you win lead with Poly, let's say for example if it's like, you know, a Guzzlord or something that's weak to Reggie as well, if the opponent's weak to Poly in the lead, there's a good chance they're strong to it in the back, so if the opponent somehow takes swap, it can be very awkward. So sometimes staying in and playing the match out is better than swapping out. So, Deoxys lead, we're going to see a lot of these in this video as well. What I like to do here is go for the move right away. They usually build up to the Thunderbolt and throw it. I shield the first move, and what I always like to do is catch the Psycho Boost on Gligar. This has worked for me 9 out of 10 times. The opponent always goes for Psycho Boost, because if they don't, that you can go for an Icy Wind and basically look to take them out. The opponent comes into Sableye, I throw this move immediately just to basically get it off. And typically in Deoxys teams, they have 1 or 2 Pokemon in the back that are weak to Poly. So what we like to do here is come in with Poly and pretty much farm down or throw a move. Right here was a mistake. I shouldn't have thrown the move. I should have committed to the farm down in this situation here. This is the first time I was facing DD lead, so I hadn't really fully came up with my game plan yet. We do a slight undercharge, but we're pretty much fine here, right? Because whenever the opponent's weak to Poly, they tend to be weak to Registeel as well. They're usually either weak to Reggie or Poly in the back, sometimes both, and the opponent comes into Guzzlord. Now the opponent has 2 shields, I have 1, and in this matchup here, the opponent actually throws Brutal Swing, so I'm really happy with this. It's not Crunch, it's not the hard-hitting move. The opponent will have to throw like 3 or 4 of these Brutal Swings, and of course I can shield one, so I go straight for the move, not baiting. Whenever you're playing at high elos, you don't bait as much because opponents are more likely to make a call as a win condition. Once again, DD lead. This is what you would consider to be a positive lead with this team, believe it or not. DD is negative for Poly, of course, but if you have a plan, this is what I'm saying to you guys. It doesn't matter if you have a bad lead, as long as you have a plan, that's all that matters, right? We always have algo talks and stuff like that. The opponent does not go for the move this time, so this is a little bit different. This is one of the few times the opponent was patient. We have algo talks quite often. It's annoying whenever you're getting hard countered and stuff like that, so that's why you have to try to come up with these little plans. This is a little bit awkward this time. The opponent can get off a payback or 2 body slams. I thought that was a mistake by the opponent, but they actually end up making the move, so this is a little bit awkward. The good thing is though, I'm 1 off a move in Poly, so pretty much what I can look to do, come in Poly, go for the Icy Wind on DD if they come back, or actually even just shield, farm it the whole way down, look to permanently debuff whatever's in the back, and then look to try to sweep it with Reggie. It's an Obstagoon, so this is just curtains for the opponent. So what turned out to be a very negative lead, turned out to be extremely good for my backline, right? With this thing being debuffed a few times, and they end up throwing a move here as well. With this thing being debuffed a few times, Reggie can just definitely deal with it. Again, even shield scenarios, we beat Obstagoon with Reggie. I've got a pretty decent Reggie. I think I'll put my IVs on screen for today's video, just so that you can get a really full feel of the team and how my IVs might be impacting matchups. I have a really good Reggie. It definitely helps to have a really good one. However, on my ult, I'm using like a 1480 CP one, and it's been just fine. Mantine lead, very awkward. So come in with Gligar, try to CMP them or throw the move right away. Basically try to stall this matchup out as much as you possibly can. I do like shielding here because Mantine's such a big problem for the Reggie, and the opponent does go for the Ice Beam. So we draw out the Ferrothorn, up a shield Ferrothorn can take out the Gligar. From here, we still have a move. By the way guys, these matchups that I'm talking about with Gligar, you have to play this in a certain way with Shadow Gligar. If you're using a non-Shadow, what you'll have to do is try to figure out a different way to play it for yourself. Now, I knew the opponent would get off a Power Whip. I know that Registeel, of course, is my answer to the Mantine, but I can't really bring in Poly and just let it go here. I'm thinking like Poly might still be able to do something. The Mantine's around 50% health. I can still get off an Icy Wind. This is really unfortunate that I'm taking so much damage on Reggie, but I don't really have another better option. The opponent comes into a Steelix here. So do I still have a chance to win this here? Bang! They actually let the move go. We come into Poly here, get an energy lead, and I think what I'm going to look to do here, shield this move, get off an Icy Wind, and try to get off 2 on the Mantine. So what looked like a really horrible match, like Mantine's one of the worst leads for this team. This is starting to look winnable suddenly, because we have the opponent debuffed. We can actually look to get off another Icy Wind on the Mantine, which will take them out. The counter damage will just really add up on the Steelix. The opponent will be absolutely forced to throw here. The opponent commits to the farm down, and that's good games. So, like I said, just because you lose lead does not mean losing match. Look at all these lost leads, right? I'll be completely honest, on the first day that I played this team, I was so lucky with a lot of good leads. But like, this is the first time playing this team, and I think you've seen like 3 or 4 DDs in this one set here. So like, these are not all super positive leads. Today, I went on an insane run. I definitely had a lot of Empoleons. We make the catch like we usually do. But once again guys, winning lead is not everything. You can definitely play your way out of things if you know how to play it. Some things are complete RPS and there's no winning it, you know, that is what it is, and we'll showcase some of those a little bit later. So we try to CMP the move, the opponent CMPs me here, CMPs me. We're going to come in with the Poly here, go for the move right away. Because the opponent dumped their energy with the Deoxys, right? The opponent actually shields here. I'm trying my best to catch, I can't, and I think I'm going to shield once farm all the way down. The opponent's going to be 5 counters off a move, I've got an Icy Wind banked. I'm just thinking here, if I can get the shield off the opponent or get rid of it, I might be able to debuff whatever's in the back. It's a Ninetales, and this is just basically curtains here. A little bit of information about this. If you ever want to get a lock on down with Ninetales, you can basically fully charge it and it won't take them out. If you've damaged them a little bit, you only leave off a couple of bubbles, but that's about it. Once again, the opponent comes into a Goodra. This is pretty, like, you know, run-of-the-mill at this point, right? We know how to play this exactly. Come into Gligar, farm up to 5, they throw the move. We take one, we shield one, build up to back-to-back. We've done this a few times already, right? We know how to play this. However, sometimes the opponents can be smart and do little different plays that you're not really ready for, so have a look to see what the opponent does here. We take them out here, and we're 2 away from the move. We're going to look to be an insta-throwing Andy here, but the opponent said, nah bro, I'm going to catch it on my Dragonite. If they do this, this makes it really awkward, so come back into Poly if they do this, get off the Icy Wind. Now at this point right here, if the opponent no-shields this is actually really bad for you, because the Empoleon can actually think about taking out the Reggie up a shield. Thankfully, the opponent does not do so. I can move with Reggie, I can take any move, you lock on the whole way down, and you're basically fine. So like that can get extremely hairy. As you can see here, yeah, there's just nothing the opponent can do at this stage. If the opponent does shield that, it does get a little bit hairy. Either way though, you do need to get the final shield off the opponent, so that's just about the only way you can try to play that out. Shield, get off the Icy Wind, and hope the opponent shields back. The opponent goes for superpower here. I decide to take the second one, of course, because it'll do less damage. Dragonite leads are very, very awkward. The opponent finally comes into a Deoxys. 2 Zap Cannons will basically take out a DD, and because I have pretty decent IVs on the Reggie, I can actually make it to 2. So this is perfect for me here. We go for fully charged Zap Cannon here. The Deoxys is getting super low, they're double debuffed here. The only way they do damage to Gligar is by double debuffing themselves. They go for Thunderbolt immediately, they're an insta-throwing Andy. We can take the Psycho Boost, no problem. I'm going to basically look to commit to the farm down here, get an absolute shed load of energy for the Dragonite. I can't afford to throw, I have to keep the energy for Dragonite. I have to try to do something with it. It's one of the trickier leads for this team, and the opponent actually comes into a Reggie. So what I think the opponent likely does here is go for a swap, right? I expected the opponent to swap, so I simul swap. We get an Icy Wind off right here, and at this point, guys, we can just basically put it on the Gligar. This starts to get hairy here. This starts to get hairy because I'm getting quite low. I do a couple of extra ring attacks, and we're basically fine. The opponent shouldn't be able to lock on me down. We get off a dig, and we take it out. So this is one of the few times I beat a Dragonite lead. The way you sort of have to do it is either come straight into Gligar, trade a shield with the Icy Wind and Dragon Claw, and then come into Gligar, or try to catch a Dragon Claw on the Registeel. I think that definitely would work. You have to try to do something a little bit fancy there. Okay, so the opponent swaps into Gligar. We stay in with Poly, we always stay in with Poly, go for the chip, and come into our own here. The opponents always end up throwing after 7 here, so the opponent's on 2. I can take 2 aces, no problem here whatsoever. I'll throw just before they reach the next one. And if it's Shadow on Shadow here, you can throw 1 ace, land it, and farm 1 down, right? If you're using a non-Shadow Gligar, you have to throw 2 moves there. So keep that in mind. If you're using Shadow versus Shadow, you can ace and farm down in that situation. If it's non-Shadow versus Shadow, you have to throw 2 moves. Cross Chop coming in, we farm this thing the whole way down. The opponent most likely brings in Gligar to get some energy or to, you know, do some damage or whatever. They come into Mantine, I swap immediately, and this should be basically curtains here. I sort of am expecting the opponent to go for some sort of a catch here. They go for an ace here trying to stall the clock, and I think they realize they can't really stall it out long enough. Good games there. So super RPS victory, but I just wanted to show you that you chip and dip on the Gligar, you just have to remember that. Guzzler lead, the opponent's staying in here quite interestingly. It is tempting to shield because, as you can see, the opponent actually can get you quite low here. I should have won and through this move, but I wanted to get extra energy. But look how low the Guzzler, it's got my Poly. They come into Mantine, I swap into the Gligar because in the 2s, this is a relatively close matchup here. Of course we want the Reggie on this. Maybe swapping out was a mistake in this case, but I just thought that the Poly with that energy might be useful in the back, so I decided to keep it. We shield the ace, unfortunately. The opponent shields up the ace as well. And I'm thinking at this point, this is sort of getting to the range where Reggie might be able to deal with it. I was expecting the opponent to full send, and they actually come into an Empoleon. So we should be in a very good position now. The opponent will be forced to shield. We're in the 0s. The opponent will not make it to 2 moves. We go for the Focus Blast immediately, and we're basically chilling here. Focus Blast, we're not messing around. Getting rid of this thing immediately. We still have a little bit of health on the Gligar. We can basically look to lock on down the Mantine, and that's game over. By the way, being ABA weak to Poly and like ABA weak to Reggie is just absolutely insane. Ninetales lead. By the way, these next couple of battles are going to be a little bit laggy because I was recording them using Wi-Fi while like being around the house. But I wanted to showcase a few Ninetales leads, so apologies for the little bit of lag here. Now what you do is you have to check to see what move they're on, okay? So that means that you do 1 or 2 counters with Poly. If they're in Charm, go immediately into Gligar. If they're in Powder Snow, stay in. That's basically what you need to know about Ninetales. With Powder Snow, you beat it with Poly. If you go into the Gligar in that situation, you basically throw your move. So you do 2 counters with Poly. If it's Charm, you swap into Gligar. You do 6 wing attacks to throw for good timing, and then you shield and play it out a little bit. We take out their Gligar. The opponent, of course, will get a lock on down here. or come in with the Ninetales, they'll have to take a dig. This should be enough to knock them out, and they come into a Giratina. I swap immediately, not allowing them to get an energy lead. I cannot let this thing go crazy on my team. They go for a Shadow Ball here, it does a lot of damage. I'm hoping and praying to get a debuff. 2 Zap Cannons will almost take out a Giratina, even though it's a resisted move, it's kind of crazy. Registeel is too good. I'm just about in Shadow Ball range here. Unfortunately, we don't get off a second move. Giratina is so tricky. What I should have done there was waited down my switch clock and tried to go for a catch. So I've completely missed this matchup here. I just wanted to once again show you that Giratina is tricky. I could have perhaps waited my switch clock and went for a catch. The opponent swaps out of that matchup here, and you're going to see here, we're going to stay in with the Poly. The reason I decided to do this is because Registeel completely obliterates Ninetales. It is a hard wall to all of its energy. It completely destroys it. I'm ahead by 1 counter, and I'm thinking the opponent wants me to bring in Gligar so they can farm it down with Ninetales, and that's just not what I want to happen, right? So I'm going to go straight Icy Wind here. I could have went for Scald in this one. It starts to get a little bit hairy, but at least the opponent will not get a bunch of energy. I will even get off a move on the Jellicent when it comes in. So at this point, Registeel is primed to sweep this match. We'll let ourselves go down, come into Gligar, and the opponent will swap out to clear the debuff. We come into Registeel. This is an absolute hard wall to it. We don't need to go for any fancy undercharges. We don't need to do anything here. The opponent goes for a Gleam. By the way, if you're ever Ninetales in this situation, go for Gleam. It's the better move to go for here. The opponent is throwing the correct move. We're going to lock on the whole way down, and we're basically chilling, right? Because we can still get off a move. Look how much damage those Gleams are doing. We get off a move in the Jelly here. Hopefully we can get another debuff, and if we do, we're going to go straight into the Gligar here. Oh, I guess I forced the opponent to throw the move because I had the extra energy. This is even better. They go for a Surf. We come into Gligar here. I'm not sure if this is dig range quite yet. You can take a Surf here. So I think I decide to go for triple Ace. In this situation, guys, go for double dig. Double dig is the smarter play here. The opponent's no shielding as their win con, and I almost end up losing this game. So if you ever get this situation where they're getting a little bit low, go for double dig. I do make it to triple Ace, so this is perfectly fine anyway, but the match became very, very close at a certain point. Poliwrath versus Deoxys. Oh, a very unfamiliar lead that we've not seen for a while. We're going to play it out, see what the opponent has in the back. Like I said, guys, in this video, I just want to showcase like different variations of bad leads and sort of different teams that you might come up against, because I want you to look at this video, be able to see these matchups play out in the way that I want them to play out, and in this case, in the way that I don't want them to play out. The opponent built up to back-to-back Psycho Boost this time and then swapped out. However, I do have a big energy lead against the Goodra. I decide here I'll only get off 2 moves, so I'll go for double Ace, which would be almost sufficient to take out the Goodra. The opponent shields the second move, and we're in a bit of an awkward spot now. I'm going to come in with Poly. I'm pretty much forced to shield here, which is kind of annoying. I shield this up, and I'm hoping I can make the farm down. I just realized that I can't do it. The opponent has some energy on the Deoxys. I can do one of 2 things here. Let my Poly go down, go for a lock on down, or I can try to go for an ambitious catch. I get the catch here, and double debuffed. This is not an answer. The opponent comes into Stinky Binky, and this is absolute game over here. It takes 3 moves to take out a Stinky Binky, but yeah, this is so dominant. Even up a shield, Stinky Binky has no chance against this, and at some point I'll be able to swap out. The opponent's only hope here is really to get a debuff. I think this is a really bad Stinky Binky because, as you can see, these Zap Cannons are destroying it. Normally they can take free very, very easily. Or sorry, it normally takes free. They can take 2 very easily. It normally takes free. I decide to throw the Zap Cannon here. I'm going to go for the Icy Wind right here as well. The opponent's on 1 HP, and that's good games. So once again, guys, a very, very bad lead, but we came up with a plan, we made a catch, we done something about it, and we were able to take the win. Now, hopping into the next match, we have a Victory Bell lead. Pretty horrible. If you get a Vig lead, come straight into Reggie, go straight for a Zap Cannon, it'll be good timing, and hope and pray, basically. They can live a Zap Cannon, by the way. They go for a move. I'm happy to take it here at this point, and I'm going to look to get off another Zap Cannon. The opponent goes for a really nice catch on Steelix. However, this is opening a door of opportunity here. I'm up a shield. Yes, they can farm me the whole way down. We make it to a Focus Blast. Now, I'm tempted here to shield this to get off the second move and give them 0 shields, but I just realized here, I can come in with Poly, take the first Psychic Fangs, shield the second one, and get off an Icy Wind on the Victory Bell. Now, if this is Victory Bell with something that's weak to counter, it might be something else that's weak to counter, or some sort of like Steel type, a Carbink, something like that, right? Victory Bell and Carbink are a pretty common pairing, so that's what I decide here. I'm going to come into Gligar. This is only enough for a Leaf Blade, so I shield it. It's not going to be an Acid Spray, and they actually come into a Guzzlord here. This is still a little bit tricky-dicky here. We go for the Dig that does heavy damage to the Guzzy, even though they've got a lot of HP. Now, I don't go for my move right away, because I need to get a farm down with Poly. So I don't throw my move here, I need to get the farm with Poly, because if I take it out with Gligar, they'll basically farm down the Gligar with Vic. Even though I'll get 1 wing attack, it's not going to help me, right? They're still too healthy. I need to get the energy with Poly, so I farm down the Guzzy with Poly. go for the Icy Wind here, and that's game over. So that's a little lesson that you guys have to learn if you want to really improve at Go Battle League. Whenever there's 2 Pokemon alive, and whenever the switch clock is not burned, right? If you still have some time to maneuver, you don't always have to take down the second Pokemon, because sometimes giving them the energy lead will actually win the match for them. So sometimes deliberately losing the match is better than winning the matchup, just so you can get the energy, or the opponent does not get the energy. We come into Reggie, they come into Venusaur, not really an answer to it. We can win this, they can make it very, very close by the way, but I'm thinking like, even if I can get shields here, this is not too horrible, right? We get a shield off the opponent. I think because my Reggie's so good, I still live this move. So the opponent's going to have to go down 2 shields or give me switch advantage. We live it on 0.1 HP. We live it on absolutely 0 HP. We come in with Gligar. I'm going to shield up a Frenzy. It does a lot of damage to Gligar, and we're basically in a fine spot here. I can take one move of this. They go for the foul play. I decide to shield one. I'll probably let the next one go, or try to catch a foul play in Poly here. We go for 1 and catch. Boom. Hopefully the opponent is not predicted. They do go for the foul play, and this is great. I'm going to try to counter it the whole way down, which means we can permanently debuff whatever comes in. They do still have the low health Venusaur, but I don't think they bring it in. They bring in Stinky Binky. Now this is getting kind of close and kind of awkward. I just need to hope the opponent... Oh, they go for the swap into Venusaur. This is getting really close. They don't make it to a move. We make it to a dig. Now, the question is, can we still live a Rock Slide? This is getting really dicey. Does the opponent make it to a Moonblast? They make it to a last second move. Is this going to be enough? They go for a Rock Slide and we do live it, and that's good games. Now, if you get a Mandibuzz lead, if you're using this team, the best way I've played it is just coming straight into Reggie, so keep that in mind. The opponent once again comes into a Shadow Sableye. I go for the move first here, and basically like to get the debuff off. The opponent knows it's only an Icy Wind. They're going to build up to back-to-back right here. I'll take one, shield one, and then basically put my Registeel on the Carbink. Complete and utter hard wall to Carbink. I'm thinking it's going to be 2 answers to Reggie in the back, so I just want to take that hard alignment and look to try to do something with a shield. They come into Stinky Binky here. I go for this move. There's no point going for a debuff here because they can probably swap out, and we actually make it to a second one as well. This is absolute perfection right here. Again, I'm not going to swap out. The opponent swaps into a Kofa. I'm going to come into Reggie first, go for a debuff here, or get very heavy damage, and then look to come into my Gligar. So how you maneuver with your switch timer and your switches is so important. Sometimes it's better for you to let yourself go down, even if it gives them like 1 or 2 extra moves, right? Sometimes that's better because if you lock yourself in against something, you know, that allows them to get an energy lead, do some fancy stuff, right? You don't want to let them do that sometimes. So like, you have to ask yourself, how worth it is it? The opponent goes for a catch here. They do make it to a Rock Slide, however. We do live it. I'm a patient Peter. I overfarm as much as possible. Farm up to well beyond a dig and an ace, bang. And yeah, GG's. I didn't even need the dig here. I probably could have aced the Kofa at this range. Well, maybe not. Whatever the case may be, GG's, and let's hop into the next one. Whenever I started using this team today, I was sitting on 2800 ELO exactly. I just went absolutely crazy with this team today. We're getting Q times. We're on 2948 right here. I need a 5-0 to get a Legend, and we get another Carbink. I'm so happy to see this. Now, the opponent comes into their own Poly, and the opponent throws their move immediately. I'm so happy they do this, because that means that I can take the move, go straight into Gligar, and go for an ace immediately. If the opponent does not do that, you sort of have to stay in with Poly, right? So if they throw the move immediately, swap into Gligar. If they overfarm, stay in with Poly. They come into the Stinky Binky here. This is going to do heavy, heavy damage. Now, I realize here, I sort of I need to get shields down, right? Registeel is not good with shields up. You have to get shields down with the Reggie, or at the very least take out the Carbink, get off a move from whatever comes in, get shields down somehow. I come in, go for the Wombo combo play, but the opponent predicted it. At these high elos, people predict this shit and they make the swap because they think that you're going to do it. The game over-tapped me and I forced myself into a CMP tie here, which actually works out perfectly. The game helped me with that forced over-tap. The game's trying to make me get Legend here today, it looks like. And we have a move banked in Gligar, or just about. We were one off the move. We go for this here, and yeah, we show the opponent Registeel and it's game over. GG's, I think the opponent just wanted to see my last Pokemon at this point, and that's good games. And in the next one, we have a very tricky one. It's a Stunfisk lead. Now, once again, whenever you reach higher elos, I feel like players are less likely to shield this, that, and everything, right? Normally, you shield the first move, go for an Icy Wind, so I decide I'm going to play against the book here. I'm going to go for a Scald, the opponent lets it through, and we actually both simul-swap. I tried to catch the the Discharge. They tried to just swap and snipe my Poly or whatever. The opponent swapped out because they thought that I was ABA weak to it, which is correct. And I swapped out because I was trying to catch the move. Pretty unfortunate. They come into Mantine. I thought the opponent would definitely full send the move because, if you think about it, I only have one shield. So like, I should not really be shielding that. So sometimes shielding the move that you're not supposed to shield actually works out for you. I'm down 2 shields. This is not great. They come into this. I catch the catch the Mud Bomb on the Poly. This is looking pretty good. And they come into a Powder Snow Ninetales. I am actually in a good position now because all I need to do is go for a Scald. The opponent will have to throw a harder hitting move to take me out, whether it be a Dazzling Gleam, a Psyshock. The opponent's on Psyshock, a little bit unfortunate, and I can come into Reggie. Now we've got all of the energy off the Stunfisk, and we're in prime position to win this match. If the opponent's in Gleam, this starts getting a little bit awkward because they can sort of chip me down into a range. I go for a Zap Cannon here, of course hoping and praying for the debuff. We're fully charging, not messing around here, and all I need to do is go for Focus Blast. I go for that move, the opponent goes for a catch. I overfarm as much as possible. I don't know why I threw the Zap here. I should have went for Focus Blast. That's perfectly fine. We can still tank any move from the Ninetales, and we're pretty much chilling. The opponent even makes it to a last second move. Now here's a little bit of info about Ninetales. If you're on Psyshock, Psyshock does a little bit more damage. So if you can only get off one more move before the opponent gets off one more move, go for Psyshock. In the next battle here we have a Goodra lead. I haven't seen too many of these. Now 99% of the time they go for CMP here. They actually go for an Aqua Tail, which I was not anticipating. I suppose the opponent knows I want to get a debuff. What I'm going to like to do here is go for the extra. I'm going to take this move because they're debuffed. Thunder Punch coming in. We can look to basically win the ones and see what the opponent wants to do. If they give me Shield Slam with Reggie, I'm pretty happy. They come into Deoxys here. I come into the Gligar. They actually go for Psycho Boost immediately, so I'm really happy with this, right? Like, they're just giving me complete alignment. They come into Charm Ninetales. I come into Registeel, and this is absolute curtains for them. As I said before, we don't need to do anything too fancy. I could go for a slight undercharge here because I've done a few counters. I think I do actually go for a slight one. Yeah, and yeah, we're just going to lock on this the whole way down. What I'm actually looking to do in this situation, by the way, is burn the Switch Clock, because I don't want them getting an energy lead, so I burn the Switch Clock, get the lock on down, go for the move immediately. They come into Deoxys, Zap Cannon, bang, they have to shield it. We come into Gligar, and I'm just going to build up to back-to-back digs. I could go for a dig and an ace, it probably would be enough, but I just decided like I might as well throw the big move here. I get to 2, I still have a shield. They're trying to build up to back-to-back Psycho Boosts, so it's pretty much curtains for them. And hopping into the next one, we have an Empoleon lead. Guys, this is my final set here. I was required to get a 5-0 this set, and the opponent comes into a Superior. I make a bit of a mistake. I think I should come straight into Gligar at this match. The thing is, I know if I give them enough of an energy lead, they can actually flip this match up. So I just wanted to guarantee swap, get the shield off them with the Icy Wind. If they were to let it go, I would come in with Gligar, just get a ton of energy, take a Frenzy, and basically try to get off 2 moves on Empoleon anyway. So what I'm going to try to do here is go for a dig. I'm not going to mess around. I overfarm a little bit so they don't go for the catch. They do shield it like they do 99% of the time. And like, this is really awkward now. No matter what I come into, they're going to have to take 2 moves, right? So this is awkward. I just decide to go for the raw damage with Polly. I'm going to shield this move. The opponent's at back-to-back, so I'm going to go into Registeel here. This is still awkward because they can stay and go for Hydro Cannon. I'm expecting the opponent to build back up and go for a catch. Let's see what they decide to do. They come into Gligar here. This is still awkward, man. Can we still win this game? Non-Shadow Gligar, no debuff. This is looking tricky. Can we still win this somehow? The opponent goes for a dig, I go for the Zapparoo here, and the opponent misaligned the Switch Clocks. That's like my only sort of hope at this point. I farm up a bunch of energy, go for the catch, and we can take the move. Because they're debuffed, we can take this move. I'm going to go immediately for the Icy Wind, try to force the Empoleon to throw energy on the Poly, and hopefully we can lock on it down or get to a move. We actually farm it the whole way down, and that's GG's, guys. Now hopping into the final battle, we're in 29:48, and I'm super lucky. My good friend Humpaka cues into me here while I was streaming. I was like, bro, you better top left, Humpaka. He top left. As you can see, we're 4-1, 4-1, 4-1, and we do get a 5-0 to finish it out. Guys, I'm honestly like just in absolute disbelief that I done this today. This team is amazing. If you're looking to make a push, I highly recommend trying this team out. Everybody in my Discord, if you're watching this, get on this team. We'll do some calls. We'll try to get everybody up to Legend or Expert this week. Big thank you to everybody for all the support, man. I really do appreciate it because a few weeks ago, whenever Open Great League was out for 2 weeks, bro, I was just having such a horrible time. Even to the point where I was starting to snap back at people on my stream. I don't normally do that, but I was just getting so frustrated with this game. I appreciate everybody for sticking with it, and yeah, big thank you for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. I might try to do timestamps for this video. It's such a time-consuming thing to do, but I might try to, just so you guys can come back and watch a few different matchups and stuff like that. But thanks for watching, everybody. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Big shout out to the chat here on the right-hand side. Subscribe, turn on notifications. I stream pretty much every day, and I upload several times per week anytime I have a good team like this, so stay tuned. Big thank you, guys. Take care. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll catch you all next time.